So how did you keep that mindset of yours? What did you keep doing to say that, hey, I'm not going to give up? Is this something based on your training, or this is just how you are as a personality? Like, what did you do?
I'd say, yeah, there's, I don't know how many times I sat down and said, we're never going to be able to do this. I mean, there's hundreds of times I was like, we're never going to do this. And my dad, the same thing. So there was times where I was down, he was up. The time that he was down, I was up. And so we were always there to support each other, saying, we can do this, we can do this. So that was the main thing. And, I guess if you ask if it's personality or training, I said the training would be growing up playing team sports. You're going to make an error and you got to move on and you got to keep going. And that's why you have your teammates there to help lift you up and guide you and support you. So I'd say that was probably the training I received, was just growing up playing team sport.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to REI Secrets Spilled, Fast Track to Riches, where we talk about all the secrets, the pains, and the challenges that comes behind the scene being in the real estate business, which not a lot of people talk about. But there are a lot of things that happens over here, such as there are a lot of good things that happen, but at the same time, it all comes at a price. And a lot of people don't talk about it, but here in this podcast, we try to get them out and let the people talk about their challenges as well as their experiences in this business. So today I have with me Kit Mixon, who started off as a cost analyst in corporate America, in the oil and gas industry, wind energy industry. Later on, moved into the U.S. military contracts. And then later on got into real estate. So we'll today try to understand his journey from corporate America to real estate. And he has done quite a few things in the real estate business. Before coming into multifamily, he was also into fix and flips. So we'll talk about that as well. And welcome, Kit. Appreciate you taking your time to get on to this podcast.
Oh, thank you, Sanjay. I'm glad to be here.
So, Kid, I've known you for a while now. We are partners in some of our, some of the multifamily as well. I would like to hear from you because you do have a very interesting story about how you started off in corporate America, but before that, you were trying to do business with your father. Didn't want to do that with him, but later on, still partnered with him. So it's a very interesting story, the whys and everything, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, just tell us in brief about that journey of yours.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to start back with my father, we can go back to, when I was a kid, 8 years old, him owning a store in a mall, and me being out there cleaning the windows at 8 years old. So we started working together when I was a young age. I went through high school, and by the time I was graduating high school, I said I am never working with my family ever again. Especially retail. It was just bad. But I started working in corporate America as a cost analyst. I worked in oil and gas industry, wind industry, and then government defense contracts. Worked on projects that were as large as $1.5 billion to projects that were as small as $1 million. And no matter what industry I was in or what the job was, my job was mainly the same. That was probably the only thing I liked about corporate America. Different companies might have called the role different things, but it was the same thing. And so I did that for 14 years. I wouldn't say that I enjoyed it, but the pay was nice. The structure was nice. The Monday through Friday, the federal holidays, 3 weeks paid vacation was kind of cool. I think the enjoyment of corporate America ended there. I didn't like the cube farms and, a lot of the things about corporate America, I just grew very tired of after a while. After I got laid off I think it was 2015, the price of oil started going down. So I got let go from Shell. And then as I was unemployed, my dad asked me if I wanted to go to a real estate meetup with him. And I asked him, I go, is this about flipping houses? And he said, yes. And I was like, no, I don't want it. And he was like, come on, he kind of talked me into it a little bit. So I said, okay, what else do I got to lose? Let's go to it. It's an hour long. Plus I get some Rudy's barbecue at the same time. So we went ahead and went. And after I got done, we both looked at each other and I said, we can do this. This isn't like what I thought it was going to be. This isn't, from the infomercials and things I've seen on TV. And so we decided that we were going to do it. And within, a couple of months, we bought our first house with, a hard money loan. And, I think we bought the house for around $112,000, put around $40,000 into the Reno. 6 months later, we sold it for $224,000. We wanted to keep it as a rental, but we couldn't find a renter. And the holding cost was just eating our profit. And someone came to sell it for us, sold it. And during that time, time, again, it was one house in 6 months. So, and when you're splitting profit about $30,000 evenly, it doesn't go too far. So I got another job that was approached and asked if I wanted to come back and be a cost specialist again. So I said yes, and that was when I started working for KBR doing government defense contracts. And they then started sending me overseas to the Middle East, and so I'd be over in Bahrain, 8 hours ahead of Houston, and trying to buy a single family home. Didn't work out too well. And then, after I came back, I was driving through Houston and I saw this apartment complex. It was a small place. It's probably about 15, 16 units. And I thought that was interesting. And I was like, during that time, we also got two more rental houses, but each one is two of us, and we're the ones managing the crew. So each house was taking 6 months to get through and complete. And I started looking at multifamily and seeing, hey, there's a 15 unit complex. I'd be like doing 15 houses at once. That sounds a lot better. I was like, I'm used to that. My job, whether if it's a $1 billion contract or a $1.5 million contract, it's the same work. It's just bigger numbers. So that's why I thought, okay, we got to look at multifamily. Well, at the same time, he happened to look at multifamily too and kind of started seeing the same thing. And that was when he said that he had gone to a meetup, just like a 1 day, I guess, like Ari Mentor did like a 1 day seminar here in Sugar Land about their thing. And he goes, there's a 3 day workshop. Do you want to go to it? Okay, yeah, let's go. Let's go check it out. So we went to the 3 day workshop and got to the third day. We looked at each other and said, we can do this. And that's what got us started in multifamily and going from there. And, and then it took 3 years. And so after hundreds of LOIs being submitted, we had only 2 LOIs out of all those 100 ever accepted. Out of those 2 LOIs, we never got past the purchase agreement negotiations. It fell apart through that time. And then finally, we met the right sponsor, met the right partners, met the right teams, and finally got our first property in September of 2022, 75 unit property in Port Arthur, Texas.
Lovely, lovely. So, so that was a pretty good journey. But tell me about the frustrations and the mindset that you had to maintain, because a lot of the things, right? Like as you said, you did hundreds of, LOIs were sent out,
Yeah.
out of which two were accepted, but you couldn't get past the PSA.
Yeah.
So, it takes a lot of energy and a mindset to keep focused. So, what did you do to keep yourself like positive? Because a lot of people, go through all these mentorship programs. Not many, get through it, right? Like not many
Yeah.
people, and we probably would have noticed a whole bunch come to the UP and some of the other networking events, and you see the same people, but they've still not done a single project, or they've just said, you know what, I'll just become a passive investor. I don't want to get into this.
Yeah.
So because there's a lot of challenge. So how did you keep that mindset of yours? What did you keep doing to say that, hey, I'm not going to give up? Is this something based on your training, or this is just how you are as a personality? Like, what did you do?
I'd say, yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times I sat down and said, we're never going to be able to. I mean, there's hundreds of times I was like, we're never going to do this. And my dad, the same thing. So there was times where I was down, he was up. The time that he was down, I was up. And so we were always there to support each other, saying, we can do this, we can do this. So that was the main thing. And, I guess if you ask if it's personality or training, I said the training would be growing up playing team sports. You're going to make an error and you got to move on and you got to keep going. And that's why you have your teammates there to help lift you up and guide you and support you. So I'd say that was probably the training I received, was just growing up playing a team sport. And that's something you got to do in this, is what I strongly feel, is you got to find the right team, the right people to work with.
So yeah, no, exactly. You brought in another point to it, because we always keep saying multifamily is a team sport. So what are the challenges that you had to face, or what were your criteria when you were picking up your teams? Like, what was your thought process as to like, hey, this is my superpower, so that means I need to have certain people take care of certain things. And how did you try to weed them out? Because there are a whole bunch of us out there, and not necessarily everybody is bad or everybody is good. It's just that every single person has a different mindset and what they want to stay focused in. Some people might be great at what they do, but they might not be good partners to partner with. So how did you put together that team?
Well, I think we went about it, I don't want to say necessarily the wrong way, because, everyone has their own path. But I wish, if I could go back, I would say that we should have looked for our team at the beginning. We started off going thinking that me and my dad, that we could conquer it ourselves. That all we needed was us to, a sponsor. If I was to restart it, I would say I'd go interview the sponsors first, find out what the sponsor wants to make their returns. That would be my first step going back on. So again, yeah, what was the question again now?
So how did you put together the team? But I think you
Yeah.
answered the question. I think you did it a little bit reverse. A lot of
Yeah.
them first go to the sponsors, then they talk to them, get an understanding, and then they start building a team that would fit in.
Yeah.
But yes, I think you still got through, and the right kind of people came into your life. They always say that people either come into your life to either teach you a lesson or you become the person that you are because of the
Yeah.
them. So you have to thank them either ways, right? For either teaching you something or making you grow. Either ways you grow. So my next question to you would be is what is it about when you first how did you get your first deal? Because if I remember, there was a lot of negotiations that went in, and of course. We always kind of say that yeah, it was Kit's handsome face. Not that you're not, but but how was that? How was that experience?
Man, so I found out I like negotiating. I didn't realize like how much I enjoyed it until I actually started getting into this. But yeah, the first property that we were actually able to get was, just someone posted it on Facebook. It was one of those Facebook groups, and I had learned to just kind of ignore these groups because the majority of the people that were saying I got this property to sell was bogus, weird stuff. And so I would stay away from it. But my dad saw it at the same time and he sends it to me. He goes, "Did you see this?" And I was like, "Yeah, the person who says they have it, they're posting it in every Facebook group that I'm in. I don't think it's legit." But he followed up with it anyways. And turns out that the property, even though it wasn't listed for sale with this person who was trying to sell it on Facebook, we found the owner. We were able to figure out what the property was. We were able to figure out who the owner was, and we called the owner. The owner then calls my dad back and says, yeah, the property was for sale 6 months ago, but we decided to take off the market and wait to go back on the market next year. And he goes, "Okay, well, we found this listing and we're interested." And he was like, "Well, yeah, if you want to come out tomorrow, I'll give you a tour." It's still for sale, but we're just waiting to take it back to the market. So we said, yeah. So the very next day, we were out there in Port Arthur, Texas, getting a tour of the property.
Wow. This is what I always say, never leave any stone unturned, right?
Yeah,
A lot of people think that, okay, hey, oh, it wasn't on the correct seat. That's where all the deals go to die. Oh, why would somebody put it on Facebook? If that was such a great deal, why would he want to do that? But there is so much, never give up on anything. Try every single thing that's out there until you get to that level, right? Where things
yeah,
start coming to you. But until then, you got to do it and not get, how would I say, disheartened when it doesn't work out. I think that's
yeah,
the thing, the mindset you got to have is to keep it going. So no, that was a really good one. So when you got your first deal, I'm pretty sure you were excited.
yeah.
You had a team that put together, they closed on the property. But I've always noticed this, like, okay, we all enjoy saying that, wow, we closed down that property.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's when the fun starts, right? So you want to
Oh
talk
yeah.
a
Oh yeah.
little bit about that, about how what are the things that you had to face, some challenges that you had to face, and how you overcame that.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the exciting part. I mean, when you underwrite the property at first and you start realizing the issues and what the problems you got to solve, putting together the business plan. Yeah. So the executing the business plan has been one of my favorite parts. As soon as you get to put your plan into actual. One of the big things there, they had a huge pothole right when you drove into the property. The rebar was sticking through. I mean, if it rained, you couldn't see it, and it was so. First or second day that we owned the place, we were up there. Me and my dad were up there with cement and pouring the concrete in that hole. So that was kind of fun. That was the first thing we noticed. That was the first thing, kind of a tenant base that we had to flip. There were other things like with the age of the building and things like that we faced. The electric system is something that we had to work with as well. Every unit had a Federal Pacific electric box in it, so that was required to change within 30 days. I think it was about 30 days. I think about 30 days from the time that we closed on the property to get all those changed. Man, I think it was 60. Don't quote me. I think it was 60. I can't remember, to get all those changed out. So I mean, that was the biggest thing that we were up against. Was for our insurance to get every single one of those electric boxes changed out. So that was again something that fell on me to go out and find an electrician who go get those quotes. So it was before, during the due diligence process is when we discovered that all those units had Federal Pacific electric boxes. So that was something that, that popped up that during the underwriting process that we originally didn't plan for until after we toured the property. So yeah, that was a big challenge getting that started. And just along the way, we also, were implementing a solar project the property was all bills paid. So a big expense was the utility cost. And a way that we found to bring that down was installing solar on the buildings. And not only was that going to lower our, utility costs and increase our NOI, we're also going to be able to provide our investors with a nice tax credit based on the solar system that we were able to put in place.
Lovely, lovely. So it was a pretty good first deal experience, right?
From the start, I mean, it was what we expected. When we flipped houses or, renovated them, there were always rough houses. And so I knew what could be accomplished by doing some changes to a house, just making it look different, making it better on the inside. But it is a different beast when it's 75 units and it's a bigger property. It's a lot more difficult than it's more zeros on a cost report.
Understood. So Kit, they always keep saying that in this business, the first thing everybody asks you is, "What's your superpower?" is what they keep asking you. So how long did it take you to get a good understanding about what's your superpower, and what made you realize that, okay, hey, this is what I should be focusing on, and I'm going to leave the rest to some of the other teammates.
So when we got into it, me and my dad, we thought we could divide and conquer. I was going to take on the underwriting, finding the properties, negotiating the LOIs, the contracts, and he was going to handle more of the CapEx side and the asset management side. He has a history of entrepreneurship, managerial, things like that. So we thought he'd be good for the asset management. He was also, like to do all the fixes around the house. So, he knew CapEx stuff. He knew how much things cost. He knew how much refrigerators and everything else like that cost, how much it would fix to repair some wood or drywall. So he was going to take on those responsibilities. But as we got into the property, we realized that there was things that we liked doing and there was things that we didn't like doing. And as we got more into the asset management side of it, we both decided that, it was a little bit more than what we thought it was going to be. Side. So when he would, for his experience in the CapEx and things like that. So when I'm doing things, the underwriting, I would go to him and say, "Hey, this is the repairs that are needed for this much. How much do you think it would cost per unit?" And we decided we like doing that better. I like going out, finding it. I don't so in finding the properties, negotiating. And so I guess my superpower would be underwriting. That's why I like negotiating. That's what I like. So that's why I like doing in this business. And we were lucky enough to find partners who like doing the asset management side. They love doing that side. And so it was just a natural fit saying, "Hey, not only do you know how to do this, but I like you as a person." So it made it a very easy decision to give up my own equity in this property to have someone else who I like and trust to do the work I don't, which frees me up for more time to do the thing I like to do, which is acquisitions, finding properties, negotiating for them. Even though I haven't found one since then, it's been fun.
No, it's a very something that everybody keeps thinking, that when they get first started, they want to do everything by themselves. And
Oh yeah.
right, it's like, yeah, but then they realize that, okay, this is not something that one can do by themselves. They need to have the right kind of people. So all of those people who are just getting started in this multifamily space, and who are students who have just come out of learning how to do underwriting and want to get into their first deal. So based on your lessons learned, what would you, if you were to go step by step for them, what would that be?
Well, so I learned underwriting. My cost and analyst background helped a lot. I know how to work Excel sheets and things like that, new graphs, formulas, all that fun stuff in Excel that I learned how to do, but also just having an analytical background for 14 years really helped with my underwriting. But the main thing that helped the most with my underwriting was actually doing it. I just underwrote any property I could find and started catching on to trends, saying, "Okay, this is how much this place is spending for repairs and maintenance. This is a normal utility cost. This is a high utility cost," and just starting to understand that. And so I would mainly go to these big brokerages and get their properties because they have just properties listed for sale on their website, and they have all the information. And I just started underwriting all of them. I also thought I could take on a 250, $25 million property without ever having a sponsor already lined up or knowing how I was going to raise the money. I had no clue what I was doing. I could have got us in some big trouble if one of those offers would have been accepted with no plan in place on how I was going to put the earnest money. How was I going to raise $10 million? All that stuff. I had no idea. So what would have helped is knowing a sponsor as I was doing this underwriting, reaching out to sponsors, interviewing them, finding out if I like them, finding out if someone I want to work with, and finding out what it is that they want to see in a property. What kind of return do they want to see? so I could know what to underwrite to. And also not guessing. That's a huge thing for people underwriting. If you don't know, you don't know, but don't guess. That was a huge thing for me.
No, I completely agree with you. I think this is what I always keep telling a lot of them. First, try to get your sponsors lined up. Make sure that you have a good understanding and you are a good fit for them as well, because it goes both ways, right? So yeah, I understand. We are always when you're first getting started, the first thing is, oh, I want to close on this deal. But if you don't get along with your teammates, then it's like marriage, right? It's gruesome. It's painful. So I'm glad that
I'll
you
take your word for
have. So no, but I'm glad everything fell for you in place,
it.
and it was a good experience for you. So but I think they always say that people love to always learning is something that's a continuous process, and a lot of people read a lot of books. So Kit, what do you do in your free time? Do you like to read books, ride motorcycles? What do you like, play sports? And if sports, which one?
Yeah, I'm too old to play sports now. I tried about 5 years to go play flag football, and I pulled my hamstring on the first play of the game. So I'm out with sports, books. I'm more of a movie guy, you
Okay.
know. But free time, I really like watching like Rod Khleif. I really like watching his videos about real estate. So that's something I like in the free time I do when I have time. Entertaining. He gives away so much knowledge too. So I've always liked him. You know, I got 3 dogs that I hang out with. So that takes up some good time, and I got a lot of family I like spending time with, and so I like getting outside, doing things. But I guess I should probably take up golf. That's probably something I should probably pick up. It doesn't require a lot of exerting a lot of muscles and things like that. But I used to play sports all the time when I was a kid. That's all life was about sports. And as I got to like past 35, the muscle aches and everything got too much.
Well, you gave out your age, but then again, that's fine.
I don't mind at this point.
I think yeah, it's when you I think learning golf is a good thing. It's a good sport. A lot of things do happen on the golf course. That's to say, most of the big decisions do happen out there. There is a story behind it where there was this gentleman who was playing golf, and the other person, he was also who he was playing with had brought his wife with him, and ended up this guy was kind of moving the ball a little bit, just to borderline cheating, you can say.
Yeah.
And the other guys, but the other guy was getting along with this person really, really well, and he really liked him. But his wife told him not to do business with this guy, and he asked her why, and she told him, like, it's what you do today in your regular life is what you do in your, like, in everything that you
Yeah.
do. So if he is a person who cheats on this one, he's going to do the same thing for you on that. So
Yeah.
so there is a lot of things that you learn. And also, it's golf is like, you're not competing with anybody else, you're just competing with yourself. So if you're not going to be true to yourself, you're
Yeah.
not going to be true
Yeah.
to others as well, right? So there's so much that to learn over there. So yeah, of course, I think you should take that up. Now
It's probably about 10 years since I played. I used to play a little bit every now and then, but it's probably been a good 10 years since I've actually been out there and hit the balls around. But I probably should.
Yeah, I think you should. So, Kit, to those who want to get in touch with you to understand your experiences and, to learn from you, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Probably by email or text message. That's probably the best way. It's text messages now are just so much easier for me. But yeah, that's the best way is being able to just send me an email, send me a text message, and
Yeah, no, definitely we will include your email address as well as your cell phone number in the when we send it out.
yeah.
So definitely it's going to be there. So first of all, Kit, I really appreciate you getting on the podcast and talking about your experiences, the challenges, and giving more information about yourself as such.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, now we do know that you're over 35. So
Yeah, and this is the longest my hair has ever been in my entire life. But I've never had a chance to grow out my hair. I always like worked in corporate America. If I had things, so I was like, hey, when else am I gonna have a better chance to grow out my hair than now? I work, so here we go.
Awesome. Awesome. No, it was interesting, your journey. It was a lot of fun. So thank you for coming.
Yeah,
And,
thank you.
let's talk again some other time.
Yeah, we'd love to. There's a lot more to discuss.
Absolutely.